Welcome to a brand new episode of This Week in Apps. I'm Ariel from App Figures, and here's your weekly roundup of the most interesting updates from the world of mobile apps and games. And this week, my favorite fast food chain hung a big for sale sign on its door. Wendy's announced it's ready to be acquired, citing rising costs and inflation. But if you ask me, there's more to this story. See, a few weeks ago, I looked at the growth of downloads of fast food restaurants during the pandemic, including Wendy's. And although Wendy's was in the green in that comparison, if you didn't see it, I'm going to link to it at the end. A longer view shows growth has been pretty stale overall. A tough market, you might say, unless you're McDonald's. To see how Wendy's compared to its most obvious rivals, McDonald's and Burger King, I looked at quarterly downloads for the trio in the US. And the good news is that Wendy's grew its downloads fairly steadily since 2019. And when comparing Q1 of 2019 to Q1 of 2022, downloads are up 50%. That's not a small number, but McDonald's doubled in the same period, and that's only half of the story. McDonald's ended Q1 of 2022 with around 5 million downloads, according to our estimates. Wendy's, after its 50% growth, ended Q1 of 2022 with a little over 1 million downloads, so just a fifth. That means that there's much more room for growth, but at the pace of the last few years, getting close will take what seems like a lifetime, and I don't think the investors are willing to wait. Restaurants that aren't focused on mobile growth are already 1,000 steps behind in this race. Those that focus on usage are a little closer, but considering the last few years have taught most of us to order ahead via app, book a reservation via app, or order for a delivery also via app, they're still behind. The game is growth, and the currency is downloads. Next, I'm always on the lookout for clever marketing campaigns that come with a bang, and this week I came across a great one that's been taking over the App Store. Planet Fitness is giving free access to its gyms to teens for the entire summer. Free has a nice ring to it, right? And there's no catch. Just sign up and download the app, which serves as your gym pass, and you're in. Ha ha ha, wait. Download the app. The campaign, which started on May 16th, helped skyrocket the app to the top of the US App Store almost instantly, and it hasn't left since, sitting pretty ahead of popular teen destinations like TikTok and Instagram. That translates into a lot of attention. Our estimates show that in its first week, the campaign has resulted in 1.1 million downloads across the App Store and Google Play. However, most of them came from the App Store, where downloads grew by more than 600%. Downloads doubled on Google Play, so something. And I don't expect this to end anytime soon, as the campaign lasts until the end of August. Now, why is this clever? Most teens aren't likely to sign up for a gym membership, which means Planet Fitness isn't cannibalizing any revenue by offering this. And I did say most and not all, so I'm sure there's some loss somewhere, but overall it's the cost of promotion. Teens like to use their mobile devices, so a download isn't a hard ask. Many downloads equals a better rank, and a better rank equals more visibility, the kind of visibility that will put Planet Fitness in front of its actual target demographic, which is slightly older. See what's happening here? Kudos to whoever came up with this idea, and get ready to see rivals attempt their own versions. A quick pause. If you like the insights and want more like these, please take a second to give me a like. This way I know what to focus on in the future. Thank you. Moving on. Earlier in the week, Buy Now Pay Later leader Klarna announced it's letting go of 10% of its workforce due to shifting market conditions. That led me to look at the niche, which was one of the hottest just 6 months ago. Well, don't let the bad news bring you down, because looking at downloads, it hasn't cooled down just yet. And there's one clear winner in this race. Klarna's downloads actually grew a lot in 2022. In fact, they're now at the highest they've ever been for an off-season, which means not Christmas. Our estimates show that Klarna has seen more than 700,000 downloads every week for the last few weeks. The most of this time of year, and not by a little. And to make things even nicer, that's an increase of more than 64% from January of this year. Looking back even further, it's pretty clear that this level of growth is new for Klarna. Mandatory side note though, there are many who really dislike the buy now, pay later concept and its impact on the economy. It's a common response I get whenever I talk about it. Now, I'm not saying it's good or bad here. I'm just sharing interesting data. Back. I don't think Klarna's decision to tighten expenses is actually a mistake. The downloads paint a very nice picture, but looking at Klarna's competitors, things aren't looking nearly as nice. Affirm and Afterpay, Klarna's most popular rivals, have seen much less growth in 2022 and are both getting fewer downloads on a weekly basis, even when combined. Like many other industries we've seen normalizing this year, buy now, pay later is likely heading in the same direction as well. An important component for success for these apps will be partnerships and not just direct downloads. I get that. But that's also the difference between an occasional user from a partnership and a loyal user from a direct download. Next, have you ever heard the saying, there's no such thing as a free lunch? Well, last week, food delivery app Grubhub reiterated that to thousands of hangry New Yorkers in a campaign that could have been huge but ended up with more tears than cheers. The campaign, which was supposed to feed everyone in New York City on one happy Tuesday with a $15 discount, failed almost as soon as it started. Technical issues were an easy one to blame, but the real issue was the lack of communication between Grubhub and the restaurants and delivery people, which put so much stress on the platform that many people simply didn't get their food at all. But that didn't stop the downloads. On the day of the big promotion, downloads rose more than 1,100%, sending Grubhub's app to the top of the US App Store. And that's right, a botched campaign in New York City led to visibility across the entire country. That's kind of awesome. We estimate that those few short hours of excitement gave Grubhub more than 133,000 new users. Users who were more likely to delete the app in frustration than to use it again, but downloads nevertheless. Downloads went back to their normal daily average of around 10,000 the next day, and don't even get me started on reviews. And by the way, if you're curious why Grubhub picked Tuesday, looking at that chart, I suspect it's because it's the weakest day of the week in terms of downloads, and that's smart. So someone tried. With the growing competition in big metros, new downloads are critical to the sustainability of food delivery companies. Grubhub and Seamless, the platform that really started it all here in New York City and is now owned by Grubhub, are facing stiff competition from Uber Eats, Postmates, and DoorDash, which offer endless promotions to win returning customers. A few weeks ago, I looked at fast food restaurants and their ability to drum up downloads directly, and if you recall, most just don't get it. This is just another example of that, and in 2022, after several years of experiments, this is no longer cute. Not focusing on new downloads is a huge mistake most of these companies seem to be making, except for McDonald's, of course, which continues to win the race. And last for this week, amid all the chaos, shortages, and market volatility, I found a rather simple trend that's still interesting. Search giant, which I should really refer to as the search engine because no one uses anything else, Google, is seeing downloads of its iOS app grow at an impressive rate. Impressive considering it's the search engine everyone has in their browser. Just how many downloads are we talking? A lot. 1.9 million downloads in the last week, according to our estimates, an increase of 40% over January's weekly download average, and a whopping increase of 109% over downloads in 2020. Google's app goes much deeper than what's available via the browser, but it always felt to me like a power feature and not something many would actually need. Yet, these downloads and the growth might mean it's more mainstream than I expected. But the takeaway here is that even Google, the one name that everyone knows and the one app that everyone is supposed to already have, can see amazing growth. And if they do it, you should be doing it too. And that's all I have for you this week. If you missed last week's episode, you can find it here. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments and I will answer them. And if you like this video and want to see more like it, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next week.